My daughter literally said, "Dad, you said gluten instead of glutton." And I'm like, "Thank you. I picked up on it. I appreciate you letting me know."
At least she's listening. Well, welcome to the In Between podcast. Again, if this is your first time joining us, we're excited. This is a new thing that we're doing here. And this podcast is meant to be what happens in between Sunday through Sunday. So we are excited. We have episode 2. Again, my name is Luke Littrell. I'm the worship pastor here. And we have Cassidy and Pastor Caesar. Cassidy, introduce yourself again. Tell us what you do here at Dallas Bay Church.
Sure. I'm Cassidy Pendleton once again. I do all the creative media and communications, so any social media, graphics, videos, all that kind of fun stuff, run the website, and so run around with the camera. Now I'm in front of the camera and it's really weird. So
You're making it. Is this stressing you out a little bit?
It's stressing me out just a little bit. I will say last week after I edited this and I'll put it together, I was so exhausted afterwards. I was like, I feel like I just birthed a baby. I just put this whole thing out into the universe.
It's mentally draining.
Can I tell you that one of the hardest things that I have heard and also have been a part of is when I go back and listen to my messages or watch them. I'm like, why do I sound like this? And why do I look like that?
Yes.
Right? It's just like, you are your worst critic, you know?
You have to just accept, okay, this is who I am. Nobody critiques like I do. Like I wouldn't critique myself.
Yeah.
So
that's part of it, right?
It is.
It's part of it. Like I love being able to really be in control in a sense on the platform. And there are certain things that I do that my body will just naturally do that I'm like, where did that come from? And why am I doing that? You know, it's
let's talk about some of the things you naturally do.
Gosh. Yeah, you
If
give
you
me
know
a pen.
any phrases or anything that he
give me
says.
a pen in my hand and I'm going to click the thing until it just goes to be with Jesus, I guess.
My thing is I close my eyes and I hit my
you
chest
do.
like this. And somebody's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know I do that, but I do it. But it's just who I am.
My favorite Caesarism is when he goes like, now don't miss this.
Don't miss this. That's like a really important moment.
Don't miss this.
It's almost like, please pay attention
Yes,
in this moment, right?
I got your attention.
Lacey always tells me that I have like if I'm not careful, I can like have a stage voice. And she's like, don't do the stage voice thing.
Okay.
You need to just talk normal.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I know, but I'm like in front of a lot of people and I have to like project.
Right.
I'm like, no, that's why you have a microphone.
Right.
Right. So
Tell us a little bit about yourself, Caesar. How long you've been here at Dallas Bay?
yeah.
And tell us something funny. Well, we've already heard something funny, but tell us something even funnier than that, or something about you that nobody would know.
Man, so again, I've been so privileged to be here over the last 8 years. Was the associate pastor first, and became senior pastor in 2020. If y'all remember that wonderful year. Yeah. So the vote was set to take place. If I can take you back, I remember it just like it was yesterday. March 15th. We had the entire gym set up for the vote to take place. And that was the Sunday where I called the pastor search team and I said, hey, I think it might be a good idea to postpone the vote until like next week, right? and literally he said, it's going to be longer than next week. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, the following one.
Yeah.
Little did I know, March 15th all the way to September was when I finally got voted in.
Crazy.
So that was wild. And it was, just a matter of really trusting the Lord.
Yeah.
How do you lead through a pandemic? I didn't have any books in my library about that.
They don't teach you that in school.
They don't teach you that in seminary.
Yeah.
I called some of my friends and I said, what in the world do I do? And they said,
we don't know either.
yeah. But ultimately, just lead.
Yeah.
Just lead like you would anything else. And it was a hard, challenging time, but I'm so grateful, man. It's been a great, I guess almost now, about to be in September will be 5 years as senior pastor, and time flies when you're having fun and when you're around good people. And I love this team, love you guys, and so grateful to be here and to be able to lead. Something fun and exciting, this for us, and a lot of people don't know this. It's funny, every once in a while, it doesn't happen that often, But every once in a while, like my wife will walk in through the front doors of the church and they'll say, "Welcome. We're so glad you're at Dallas Bay Church. Is this your first time here?" And so I guess they think that I'm sitting right next to a random girl and I put my arms around her every once in a while.
Yikes.
So that's kind of weird. But anyways, she actually, this is pretty cool. She was actually, she served here at the church before. A lot of people don't know that. So this is our second time coming back to Dallas Bay. The first time that we were here, she was over our middle school ministry. So she was doing everything that Eric does now and leading. And so she was around middle school students all the time. And that's part of the reason why I was gone most of the time. I'm just kidding. But I was gone a lot. I was gone 28, 32 weeks out of the year traveling and, breaking stuff and telling people about Jesus. So that was fun. But yeah, coming back a second time for us, it was like we came back home. And fun fact, it lets me know how old I'm getting because the kids that were in our ministry when we lived here the first time, like now I'm doing their weddings and premarital counseling, and I'm going, oh my gosh, this feels so weird, at all levels. But it's been a blast being back and reconnecting, with old students and watching them really now be men and women of God and pursuing Jesus. And it's like, wait, it did stick. Something did catch.
They are
right?
listening.
Not that we take the credit, right? But God used us so much while we were here.
Right.
And when you are around middle school students, you kind of go, is anybody listening? So it's been neat to see it full circle for us.
Cool.
The kind of impact that you never know you are making.
Right. The In Between podcast, we're talking about stuff that happened on Sunday morning. Talk to us about Calibrate. Where did this come from? Where did the idea come from? And what led you to do this series?
Yeah, that's a great question. Back in, I think it was about 2018, my dad gave me a book. And I wish I had brought it with me because it was such an impactful little tiny thing that you could read probably in one afternoon. And the title of it was one word. I'm not sure who wrote it. Maybe we can give that information later. But one word was set up in the concept of having the Lord speak to you and giving you a word for that year. That word for me, after I read this book, it was balance. Balance, right? And so I have hung on to that because it was like, I've never had the Lord, audibly speak to me.
Yeah.
Like I've not heard the voice, maybe you have. I don't know that you have. Yeah, I know, right? Who is that speaking, right? I think it would freak us out if that were to happen.
Sure.
And I know God did that, Old Testament, and he can certainly do it today.
You haven't seen a burning bush?
Yeah, I have not. But I feel like I've walked through the burning bush at times. But anyways, it's been a series that in the back of my mind has been sort of there in the background of what would it look like to bring great balance in your life, right? To have good balance. We can go one extreme to the other so fast at any given point, and it almost feels like, oh my gosh, I'm running myself crazy here. And it's because we are not calibrated correctly. So it's been a long time coming. This was actually the last series that I prepared for in my last quarterly study. And here's how it came up. I wish I could say it was like a burning bush moment. Here's, like God just boom, I went back through my notes and I'm a, kind of write it on your notes junkie, just any thought that comes through my mind. And that was one of the things that I looked and I was scrolling through my phone and I saw that word balance.
That's cool.
And then everything kind of from there began to it's cool how the Lord just begins to put thoughts. And first couple of days in my quarterly study, I usually just don't do a whole lot of talking.
Right.
I just kind of listen and let the Spirit lead. So it's been a long time coming. Excited about the next quarterly that I will be getting away. But this will be my last series on this last quarterly that I study for.
It's really cool to be able to do this because you take notes and you think about it and you pray about it all week. But if you're not a note taker, we've done the hard stuff for you. We can give you the highlights. something that I really took away, and we'll go to one of the questions that somebody had on the poll, was you are not your own. You know that your body you need to tend to spend so much time on, and it's not yours. Talk to us about that quote that you had, that we spend so much time and money and energy on ourselves and our body, and it can sometimes become an idol. We want to look good, we want to seem good, we want to be put together, but that's not our own. So talk to us about some scripture that ties to that.
Yeah. You go back to, I think it's in the book of Colossians, and I quoted Colossians this past week. One of the verses that did not make it into the sermon that honestly it'll probably show up at some point or another is one that I think so many people know, and that is Colossians 3:17. It says, whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. Whatever you do. Right. So what would it look like to honor God with our bodies and not worship our bodies, not worship? Because that's the crazy thing. And I think so much of what I'm like so passionate about is got to do with the trend that the culture tries to take us to, the things that that social media push constantly. And by the way, I'm not against social media. Social media can be used for God's glory, honor, and praise. Right?
My job is.
So
I'm glad you're not against it.
So much so that we hired someone to help us with social media. It can be used for God's glory, right? Yeah. So many times you have, like, even TV, right? Listen, I grew up with a generation in my family, not maybe even a generation, but just a family that we didn't even have TV. It was like, at times it was from the devil. We're not going to. So we went a little bit to the extreme of that. Yeah. And so it was hard to break away from that. But oh my gosh, you think about what TV has done and how much it can influence people the right way. You think of what's being done with The Chosen, a series that we spend a whole Wednesday night through the summers, through this summer, just kind of walking through. You think about the impact that has been made through that, right? So everything can be used for God's glory until it becomes an obsession, and it becomes the driving force of everything that you do, right? Not that I necessarily want to get into, we off air talked a little bit about this, like, tattoos or piercings or, so many other things that people do with their body. Sometimes it can become an obsession. And you've heard it said, I can't just get one tattoo. I have to get, and it's true. Most people don't have just one tattoo, right? It starts with like, hey, I'm going to get a Christian tattoo. It's going to be something in the Greek or the Hebrew where they're going to like ask me what it's about, and I'm going to be able to share the good news of the gospel of Christ. Props to you, right? If you are able to do that and the Lord uses that, but then it becomes an extreme in your life and it consumes you to the point to where you're taking a loan, going in debt because you want to get more tattoos, right? So that's the calibrate. We have to make sure. When was the last time that you talked to God about something that you wanted to do with your body rather than, this is just what I feel like I want to do,
Instead of asking for forgiveness, let's ask for permission. Hey, what should I do with this? This is not my own.
Take it to the Lord first, man. Yeah. And I think, letting the Spirit of the Lord bring clarity.
Right.
Also, there's nothing wrong with approaching people and your circle of influence and say, hey, what do you godly counsel?
Right.
We encourage that all the time. That's why we believe in discipleship here in our church.
Yeah.
Life on life, certain people that you have in your world that can come alongside and help you and pray with you about something, because we can all very easily be heading down the wrong path and not even know it.
Yeah.
Because we don't pause long enough to really calibrate. We just kind of run so hard, and next thing you know, you've allowed the outside influences drive your life rather than the Lord driving your life.
That's good. We Cassidy put a poll out on social media, and we had a question that we wanted to ask. Cassidy, what was the question that you put on? And if you haven't, join us on social media. We want to have the conversation going throughout the week. So put your questions on there. Ask him anything. No, it can be it can be somewhat to do with the church.
There's a poll that went out just on Instagram and Facebook in our story section, and so that's if you're looking for it, that's where it is, and it's only going to be on Sundays following the services. So that's how you can ask us questions, or you can just DM us or do any of that kind of stuff throughout the week. But this question that we got this week was a few weeks ago, Pastor C talked about breaks and how it's worship to nap. So how does he relate both sermons? And I think what this person was asking was, a few weeks ago we talked about rest and everything, right. And so how does that relate to this point of like being healthy and working out and making sure your body is honoring the Lord in that kind of way?
Yeah, one of the things that I want to make sure that I always do is I want to be at my best. So we are in the process of moving right now. We're getting ready to leave Saudi, where we have been over the last 8 years, which is crazy.
If you ain't in Saudi, you ain't nobody.
Nobody. I know. How can we leave
I wonder who
Saudi?
started that. That's a great...
Most likely somebody from Saudi.
Yes.
But we are, constantly, packing boxes. We are, constantly getting ready for the move. We've got certain deadlines that we're trying to meet. We've got a lot happening, a lot of, as they say, a lot of irons in the fire. Is that right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I get my quotes mixed up.
A lot of fires in the iron. No.
A lot of fires. You said those things backwards. The horse before the cart, or the cart before the horse. Either way.
Yep.
And so one of the things like I had to do on this past Saturday, we all got up and all of us had this like feeling of just being drained because we had been working so hard. And I said, "Hey guys, put on your bathing suits. We're going to the lake." And it was like a spark of energy.
Right.
We needed to get away. We needed to reset. We had been such like tunnel vision that it was time for us to rejuvenate. That's what I was referring to when we talk about maybe taking a little nap. If I am constantly running, and I never take time to pause, to reflect, even to write something down and give God honor and praise and glory, it just becomes a to-do list, and I go from one list to the other, and it's draining.
Right.
And if I don't have time to really pause and to think, I tell you, some of my best thoughts about different messages or series, or even just a rough day in the office. I've been putting up with Luke all week long.
It's tough around here, y'all.
And I have to just kind of pause and think, and the Lord will bring something to mind as the Spirit of God lives within me that gives me a brand new perspective. I would not have had that perspective had I not paused to think. Something I heard. It was Dr. Stanley. He is long gone, has passed. He was the first pastor that I was really ever introduced to, not a shake of hand, but through In Touch, their magazines, and my dad would put him on the radio every once in a while. Oh my gosh,
he's one of the goats.
Yeah,
if you don't know what that means, it's greatest of all time. Not
Thank you for the clarification. What's that commercial about the goat?
Screaming goats.
Yeah, it's like screaming goats. Those are good. But I remember listening to him say, "What if I were to ask the Lord to speak to me through the night as I rest?" And I thought about that, and I thought, that is the one place and state of mind where we are not in control.
Yeah.
I sometimes I can think about something and I can go down that path forever and a long time and chase rabbits like nobody's business, right? But in the middle of the night, the Lord can overtake my thoughts and my dreams, and you wake up and it's like, I've had so many times on purpose, Lord, speak to me through the night, and I wake up in the morning and it's like, oh my gosh, I can see clearly now.
Keep going. You're doing great. The rain is going. Yeah.
It really is. It's just such a wake up call.
That's good. I've never thought of that.
Yeah. I mean, that is the state where we are at rest. We are supposed to be at peace.
Right.
And what if the Lord just overwhelmed our thoughts and our minds during those times? And so that's what I'm referring to, taking some time to rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
And, man, the whole thing is about balance.
Right.
So how does one relate to the other? It's bringing balance into your life, that you are rested, you are rejuvenated, so that you can do what God has called you to do. To be honest, this week it's a heavy, busy week in the life of our church. We love it. We get to care for people. We get to do things with this body that God has given us for His glory. We literally just a few minutes ago was downtown, and we passed out about 100 little brown bags of food, and you would have thought that we were bringing gold to people who could not, for whatever reason, feed themselves today. And that's, I would not have been able to do that had I not been well rested and ready to go.
Right.
And sometimes we can kind of grind it out and we can just push through, but I miss opportunities because I'm just not at my best.
Right.
And so you've got to have great balance. Only you know when that is that you need to pause and rest. Going back to the previous Sunday, that yellow light concept, slow down, I think it's so important to do.
So what you're saying is take naps and play golf.
I'm saying the opposite. Like, you need rest, but you also need to work.
Yeah. I was in Romania a couple of, days back, and I talked to a guy there, and it was close to my heart, right?
Yeah.
Just about this whole concept of rest and rest and rest. I need to be ready for the next task ahead. In order to do that, I need to be well rested. And it was like a light bulb went off, because everything that he had ever heard was this mindset of like, you rest when you get to heaven.
Yeah.
Well, no, I have to take care of this body that God has given us.
Yeah.
And I know it's temporary. I know it's dying and it's decaying. For that reason, I need to take care of it.
Right.
What I put into my body matters, right? So all those things, I mean, from the whole diet thing to working out thing to, I mean, you can just go and figure out, okay, what's good, what's not good.
Right.
What works for me, what may not work for you.
Right.
A 10-minute nap on Sunday afternoons, like for me, it's like recharge quick,
I'm taking like an hour now. Hour and a half.
Confession time.
Come on.
An hour nap, Luke, really?
An hour.
No, so it just really what depends on what you need, and seeking the Lord in that way, right? Asking God, Lord, reveal yourself to me so that I know what it is that this body that you've given me really needs.
It's not holier to be one way. It's like, it's not holier to be so rested and not holier to be like so like work all the time. That's why you're talking about like that balance. You always have to try to calibrate that to be in the middle.
That's it. Find that middle sweet spot. That sweet spot. That's where we want to be, camp out there,
That's great. What are some action steps that we can take this week? Even Love Chat, be praying for Love Chat, and people that are going to do the mission work here in Chattanooga. What are some other things that we can be praying for as you prepare for the next sermon?
Sneak peek of what's coming up
Sneak
next.
peek? Anything you want to kind of give to the people
I
here?
think it'd be really important for us to continue to pray for the people in Texas. That has been a huge tragedy, and it has impacted so many of our brothers and sisters in Christ who are right now just hurting and in so much pain. So wherever you are, I would ask you to join us and continue to pray for them. Continue, this is when the church is really neat to see come together. And there are some great churches in Texas. I've lived in Texas for a while, and there are a lot of people who are ready to help. And so be praying that the body of Christ, right, comes together. And we are the hands and feet of Jesus. And we put here's another one of those sayings, our money where our mouth is, right? So that would be one thing. Number two, I would say, yes, Love Chat. I mean, it's neat that Love Chat landed in a time when we are talking about how do I honor God with my body, right? Really, we're just stewards of it. It's His, right? He created it. He has a purpose for it. So what can I specifically do to honor God with my hands, my eyes, my heart, my feet? So coming up this week, you can be tuned in to where we're going to be, which is these two little things right here, our eyes.
Yeah.
Luke chapter 11 is where we're going to be.
Okay.
And it talks about no one lights a lamp and puts it in a place where it will be hidden or under a bowl. Instead, they put it on its stand so that those who come in may see the light. Your eye is a lamp of your body. I'm going to tackle those verses this week and kind of go through chapter 11. And there's so much of what is we are exposed to, where if you can actually kind of so many times if we could just rewind and not see that, our life would be totally different.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good example of that. I'm so thankful that I saw my future wife coming in through that Sunday school classroom where I didn't even want to be there. And there she was. It was like an angel came. I know, right? Some brownie points, honey. I love you. If you're listening or watching, I make her watch everything that I do. But yeah, so it's like, the whole trajectory of my life changed because of something that I saw with my eyes.
Yeah.
Right? The opposite is true as well. You expose yourself to things that are in darkness, then you will be driven by that. So we've got to guard our eyes. So that's where we're going for the next few weeks. Super excited about it.
This little light of mine.
Come on, man.
And then the what's the part? Hide it under a bushel? No.
No.
That always
Let it
reminds
shine.
me of that. Cassie, what's the best way we can connect on social media? What can they do to find this podcast, find the video? Some people are wondering, the video on Facebook, this is the podcast. So
Yes.
you have
Congratulations,
made
you made it.
You
You've made
found
it. So
it.
if you're wondering, where do I find the podcast? You're watching it and you're listening to it.
YouTube, Spotify, and Apple
Okay.
are currently where it will be.
Perfect.
That is not proper English, but
That's okay.
that's where it will
I'm
be.
from Venezuela, so I don't know most of the time.
Don't think that all those tenses match.
Yeah, it's good.
Those are all the places that you'll be able to find it, hopefully. Usually it takes Apple a couple hours for it to load. But yeah, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, let us know.
Love to continue to connect. And I think that's the heart behind this podcast is connection, is engagement, is, there's more to the sermon.
Right.
If that's as far as it ever goes, then we are just simply listening to a talking head and we are not applying anything. And that goes in my world as well, right?
Sure.
Like I'm going, Lord, how do I honor you with my body? So again, today, I'm like, praise God, I've got an opportunity to go where there are hurting people.
Right.
So many of our people in our church today that were literally just painting a room.
Yep.
We were able to do, I talked to the guy there and he said, what you guys did today would have taken us months to do.
Right.
And it's just simply because we had people who were willing to say, how can I be used by God? This is a very easy, practical way that I can do it. So
great.
It's really neat, man.
I'm excited to see the rest of the week. We're going to the Lookouts game Wednesday.
That's right.
It's exciting.
We are
Baseball time.
Sold out DVC family night.
We're excited
Yes.
to do that. And,
Connect with us there. Come
Yeah.
see us. Talk
Absolutely.
To us. We are not weird.
I don't know. I'm
We're
not-
weird,
Some
but
people have told me
we can be talked to.
That's right.
One person a while ago said, you're a preacher? You don't look like a preacher. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Whenever people see me coming, they're like, "Oh, she's got that dreaded camera. I don't want you to be here."
Don't
I
take
went
a
to take
picture
pictures
of
last
me.
night.
Talk like that?
Yes.
Is that the accent?
Okay, I shouldn't say that. She might be listening.
It's because we live in Tennessee and you just went with a real Southern accent. I get it.
When they're just
I've
like,
embraced it.
The
on, y'all.
funny thing that happened to me 2 Sundays ago, after we sang worship, I had to go to the restroom. Somebody's like, "You are human." I'm like,
my goodness.
yeah, I am just like you.
There is no bathroom. I don't use the bathroom.
Man, it's like good grief. Hey, we have.
Have you ever been on the platform and you had to go to the restroom? You don't have to answer that.
That was Sunday.
Thanks so much for tuning in.
yeah.
Oh man, we have fun here. You can
we
see that we
do.
have fun. This is just a great time to connect. with us and we can connect with you. Hopefully you feel like the fourth person at the table. And again, that's the whole point of this podcast. So like, share, subscribe, whatever you can do to help get this podcast out. We want to do that. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for episode 2. We'll see you Sunday.